Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim. Assalamu alaikum. Welcome my second secondary students for a new lesson for your book, The Traveler 3. And today we only have writing. So let's get started as usual with the first three objectives here. So what we will learn today, one, it's all about writing. Identify the stylistic features of an informal letter, including a narrative. 2. Practicing using time linkers in context. And 3. Plan for writing informal letters, including a narrative. So mainly we can say we're talking about narrative writing. So for the first one, we have to know the style and the features of an informal letter when we write a narrative writing. And number 2, we're going to practice use linkers. There are linking words that help us write in a better way. And for number 3, how to plan to write an informal letter, which is all about, or it has a narrative style. So if we start with the first one, look at this little kid trying to write something, and a question here: do you ever write letters to your friends or relatives? Maybe you can write them letters on some apps on your maybe tablet or your smartphone. Maybe you write them in email and also maybe letters. These are all form of letters, and most of us, if not daily, we write some kind of informal letters to our friends, to our families and relatives and so on. And the number 2 question is, what reasons do you write to them for? So what reasons do you write to them for? So there are reasons that make us write for people. One of the main reasons when we write for people is that we either made friends that they are away from our homes, reminders, maybe trying to tell them some stories. People like to write about what they, what have happened to them every day. So here is an example of a narrative story or a narrative writing written by Adam, and it was sent to Amir. Okay, I'm going to read this for you, this letter. So we're talking about writing an informal letter including a narrative, like a storytelling. Dear Amir, I hope you're fine and that everything is okay at work. Not much is happening here, but you will never guess what happened to me yesterday. While I was walking home from work, I heard some people shouting, "Get out of the way! Get out of the way!" I looked behind me to see what was going on, and I noticed that an old car, which was parked on top of a hill, was rolling backwards. The car was heading straight towards a group of school children. I knew I had to do something to save all those innocent lives. As the car approached me, I jumped into the driver's seat, stepped on the brakes, so as the car approached me, I jumped into the driver's seat, stepped on the brakes, and even pulled the handbrake. But to my horror, nothing happened, and the car just kept rolling down the hill and picking up speed all the time. Then I realized that the only thing I could do was steer the car away from the children. I turned the wheels left and just missed hitting an elderly man. After a while, the car slowed down, and finally it came to stop when I crashed it into a big tree. Fortunately, no one was injured, and everyone now considers me a hero. Well, That's my story. I've got to go now and give an interview to a local newspaper. Hope to hear from you soon. Take care, Adam. So as you can see, this is narrative. He's talking about his story when he was walking, to work. He saw a car, and the car was rolling down from a mountain or a hill, and they were at the bottom of a hill. There were school children, and the car was rolling down towards them. So he jumped into the car, tried to hit the brakes, but the car did not stop. So he realized that the only way is to turn the steer away, and he, drove the car and hit a tree to make the car stop. He saved the school children and an elderly man, and he was considered a hero, and everyone is talking about him in his town. And also, he has become a celebrity, and he's going to appear in a newspaper and maybe on a TV show. So this is a storytelling, which is a narrative, and most of the time you hear such stories everywhere. Maybe from your teacher, maybe from your grandmother, maybe from your father, maybe from a story from the TV in a movie. And we like to hear about these stories. Imagine one of you has got this kind of story and he wants to tell everyone that he's a hero. It is something nice to write about because what you have done is really a great thing. So you like to talk about it to your friends, and this is the way you write a narration or a narrative story. So as you have seen here also, we had some words that are underlined and they're in red color, like while I was, as, and while. And this is starting with dear Amir, dear Abdullah, dear Muna, and so on. And finally it ends with take care, see you later, and your name or your signature. And we have here the first paragraph, the second, the third, and the conclusions. We call it the introduction paragraph. The first and the second and the third are the body of the paragraph, and finally we call it the conclusion. So before we talk about this in details, let's do some kind of exercise and try to read the letter that Adam wrote to his friend Amir and answer the questions. So we have question. Question number 1. Why is Adam writing to Amir? Why is he writing to Amir? We have 3 options. A, to give him information about an event, or B, to describe an accident, or C, to tell him about something that happened to him. Of course, we've got to choose C. Actually, the 3 they're a little bit close, but the best answer for the first question is C, to tell him about something or a story that happened to him. In number 2, also read the following statements and find examples of them in the letter above or in the previous letter. Try to find some informal language. We mean by informal language that we talk every day with our parents, the language we talk on the streets, in a market, in a mall. This is what we call informal language. So many people use informal language when we write a story, when we write a narration, or narrative. We have a bunch of words like the word okay, which is a little bit informal. And also, I've got to go. Also, this is another example of informal language. Also, some words like going to, we make it short like gonna, or want to, like wanna, and other kinds of abbreviation which we're going to talk about in a minute. The short forms that we just talked about are like I am, you can write it am. Do not, you can write it don't. Does not, you can write it doesn't. Cannot, you can write it can't. So you can use some forms which are short, and this is also some kind of informal writing in narrative writing. And also we need for C some examples of past tenses, because if you want to narrate a story, you are talking about something that already had happened and it's over. So we use the simple past to talk about stories that happened yesterday, 2 hours ago, 10 months ago, 2 weeks ago. It's done, so we use the simple past or the past continuous or the past perfect. And finally, we need some time linkers to indicate the sequence of event, and we're going to talk about them. Meanwhile, also we use linkers like here, while, as, while I was, after something, okay? Well, and also finally, at the end of the day, as we have seen. So let's try to find these answers here for you. So as you can see, for the first one, C was the correct answer for number one. Why is Adam writing to his friend Amir to tell him about something that happened to him? And a style of informal language in narrative writing. Okay, wanna, gonna, ain't, and these kind of words that we use in daily life language. And short forms like you are, you will, and can't, don't, doesn't, am, and so on. And for the past tenses that we have was walking, that is the past continuous, heard, simple past, noticed, simple past, was hitting, also simple, past continuous. And finally, the time linkers that we have to make our writing coherent and like one piece, while, as, then, after, while, and finally, meanwhile. All these linkers help us to keep our writing coherent, and also it gives us, since we're narrating a story, it also try to create some steps for writing, and also it creates some kind of organization to the events and the actions that happen in the story. Now, if we move to the style of writing, the narration or the narrative writing or storytelling. So when you're writing an informal letter, narrating something or a story, follow this outline. We have this outline. So you start with a greeting. Dear Amir, dear Abdullah, dear Muna, dear Khalid, dear Hossa, your friends. So use appropriate greeting like dear hello, good evening, good day, and so on. And then you start with the opening paragraph. So what do you do in the opening paragraph is that you set phrases to begin your letter and say why you are writing. Why you are writing. I hope you're fine. It was nice to hear from you, etc. I'm going to write about you won't believe what happened with me, and so on. Now the main part of your narration or your narrative could be 2 paragraphs. The first one, you set the scene and say what happened. While I was walking, something else happened, and you try to imagine and tell people what exactly started to happen for your story. And then second, give more details about what happened and when, you give a date, you give a day, a time, was when you were coming back home, going back home, and what happened in exactly. All these details can be mentioned in the main part, the second paragraph. And when you start to finish your paragraph in the conclusion, which we call it how we close the paragraph, you can state anything you want to emphasize. So if you have maybe something you want to stress on or something you want to, your friends to pay attention to, you can write it. And also you can use set of phrases to end your letter. Well, that's all for now. Or, okay, waiting for your letter. That was all. This is all I can write for you now. And you start to close the letter. And finally, you can leave your sign off or your signature by saying, yours faithfully, your friend, take care, etc. And write your first name or your 2 names, whatever you like, at the end. So let's go back, okay? All right, so this is the greeting. Dear Amir, Assalamu alaikum. Good day to all of you, Mr. and so on. And then here you start with the introduction. You're trying to tell what you're going to write about. And here in the first, in the second and the third paragraphs, this is the main part, you start to create the events, and here you can use some more details about these events. And the final paragraph, when you are using the conclusion and when you're closing your paragraph, you are trying to emphasize something or say something that is important. And finally, you use some sets of phrases that can show that this is over, and then you can write take care, yours, regards, waiting for you, okay, and too many words that you can end up that, and you can write your name at the bottom of your letter. So if we move on to more words that were highlighted in red and underlined, okay, like these words, when and soon as, okay, when and as soon as. What about that? We use them in writing. For example, use when and as soon as with the past simple, like noticed, worked, went, played, cut, and so on, to indicate two past actions that happened one after the other. For example, as soon as I got home, it means when I reached home, I made myself a cup of tea. So here you have two simple past. I got, the past of get, and made, also it's the past of make. So these two verbs are in the simple past. So the sentence now means, as soon as I got home, I made myself a cup of tea. It means the moment I reached my home, I opened the door and directly I made some tea and I started to drink the tea. It's the same example for when. When Adam saw, this is simple past of the verb see. So when Adam saw the house, he knew, the past of know. He knew he wanted, also the past of want, to buy it. So when Adam saw the house, he knew he wanted to buy it. We have three verbs that are in the past, and the sentence means the first second, the moment. When Adam saw the nice house, he liked it a lot, and he knew that he decided to buy the house. Now let's think, okay, and start to write. Bring a draft, get your pencil, and start to think about a story. Something happened to you. So could be an accident, could be something nice, could be a trip, could be a movie you watched, could be something you've seen. Too many things that might have happened to all of us in the past. And of course, we're going to use the simple past and the past continuous because we're talking about, we're narrating something happened. So think of an incident. Think of something happened in which you or someone you know, okay, did something that was particularly kind. So maybe you did something kind, or someone else did you something kind, or something brave or courageous, something really heroic. And write a letter to a friend. Write this letter to your friend who lives in another town, telling him or her about it, about this, heroic thing, about maybe something nice, something kind, and write between 100 to 150 words. This is for your letter. So there are some tips and advice that can help you to write better. So don't forget, when you are writing an informal letter, narrating something, telling a story, one, you can use informal language like wanna, gonna, okay. You can use short forms like I am, have, your, his, and can't, don't, doesn't. Also, you can use some expressions like well, of course, anyway, anyhow, you see, by the way, at the end of the day, etc. And for four, use time linkers to indicate the sequence of events, like meanwhile, first, second, as soon as, when. These will help you create a coherence or one whole of your events, and it will also organize the events that happen in the story. So I imagine that you have a sheet of paper. You started to write first paragraph, which is an introduction, and you start with a greeting, dear Mister, dear friend, and so on. Two parts, and finally the conclusion, and sign your name here. And you can use, that is in the closure paragraph by saying take care, waiting for your reply, faithfully yours, and sign your name and send the letter. So let's sum up what we've done today. So what we have learned today, it was all about writing and how we write a narrative story, how we tell a story in writing. So we start with greeting. We have an opening paragraph. We have the main parts, two paragraphs as the main parts. We have a closing paragraph. And finally, we sign off with some expressions like yours, faithfully yours, take care, see you soon, etc. And sign off with your name. Also, we need not to forget and always remember, when you are writing an informal letter, narrating a story or narrating something, one, you can use informal language. Two, you can use short forms. You can use expressions, certain expressions, and also, of course, because you're talking about something happened in the past, so you can use simple past, and you can use time linkers to help you organize what happened, or to help you organize the steps of or the sets or the scenes of the story. So here are some references and resources we used to create this lesson for you. You may use them and check them out. And finally, for more information and lessons, you can see us when you log on our ineducation.com. You can follow us on Twitter, and this is a 24/7 phone number. Thanks all for watching. Until I see you inshallah again, have a nice day, and salam alaikum.